We are on a 4-day adventure down the Rideau Canal from Smiths Falls to Ottawa in one of the coolest boats you can rent, a LeBoat. In last week's episode, we got a thorough orientation on how to use this Horizon 4. With a quick driving and thruster recap, Sherry was going to pilot us through the next few locks.
All right, guys, ready to go? Ready to go. Yeah, untie the lines.
The great thing about a LeBoat adventure is anyone can drive these boats, which means everyone should drive these boats. That is at least half the fun. Like every boat, it takes a little time to figure out the nuances behind the wheel. Navigating is fairly easy. Since we are always going downstream the entire way, simply keep the red buoys to your port side and the green buoys to starboard. But I still like to keep one eye on navionics, just in case. Along the way, you can expect a few swing bridges, which you won't quite fit under, but the operators are great and usually have them swinging in just a few minutes. Top speed is a casual 10 kilometers per hour, which just happens to be the speed limit on the canal. You can drive wide open and relax at the same time. Locks might seem intimidating, but the lockmasters are more than willing to help with your lines and provide any necessary instructions. And then seize your thrusters to get us to the side.
Yeah, honestly, I really think anybody who hasn't gone through the locks before really has to go through the locks. Not only is it absolutely stunning, actually experiencing the locks in and of itself and what it took to actually construct these and the history, it's just incredible.
If you're like Maddie, you're gonna want to get off the boat from time to time. Another great place to stop is Burrett's Falls. There's an awesome trail here. You can walk about 2 kilometers to the falls from here, and there and back will take you about 90 minutes. The tip-to-tip trail runs the length of the island that houses the Burrett's Rapids Village, a perfect spot to stretch everyone's legs. We are planning to overnight at Long Island, which is about 40 clicks downstream. While the girls are piloting our Horizon 4, let's go below and take a closer look at the impressive accommodations aboard. So immediately aft is the galley and the salon with an enormous settee. Plenty of counter space with a sink, stove, microwave, and a little oven. Now, one thing I really like about this galley up salon area are the windows. I mean, just look at the view right now. Now, forward to starboard, we have a lower helm station, which is fantastic if you want to get out of the rain or if it gets a little cold like it did last night. But if you find you have to dock single-handed, if your partners aren't paying really close attention, there's a perfect sliding door that gives you access to the starboard deck. But what's really cool about this boat, what's so surprising, is down below. Now, first off, it's only one step down. Aft berth to port and starboard, each with their own bunks. And they're not elevated bunks, they're side by side, which means they're easy to get in and out of. But there are 4 heads, and they are huge. I have all of this room to take a shower without taking up the entire head. But forward, again, we have 2 full staterooms. All of the berths have overhead hatches that do fully open with secondary vents in case it's raining. And small pro tip, we leave our hatch open just a snitch, and we keep the screen closed so no bugs come in, and that allows all the condensation to leave the boat. And again, just check out the size of the head. Every single one of them has its own hatch. Yoo! These Horizons do have heat and air conditioning with secondary heat and air conditioning controls. There are HVAC vents all over the boat as well to help control direction and flow of both the hot and cold air. There is quite a bit of storage on these boats, with hanging lockers in each berth. Nobody wants a battery dying overnight. So, there's 2 ways you can check them from the helm. There's also a digital meter here that lets you scroll through the batteries and the Blackwater tank capacity. And, of course, the fridge batteries. Because when you fill a fridge with a lot of warm stuff, it's going to leave them on for a while, and that can drain the battery pretty quickly. Get the engine going, and the engine will charge all the batteries. No gen set to worry about. One of the common mistakes when you're going on a boat for a few days is bringing way too much food. You can provision along the way, but if you do bring a fair bit of stuff, there is tons of storage. You can keep dry goods, or in our case, we have a few drinks. All of your cutlery, plenty of glassware, so you don't have to bring any paper plates. They've really thought of everything. And not 1, but 2 fridges aboard. They've even thought about your valuables. And if you're worried about bugs and you want to keep the salon open and airy, there is a full-length screen with a magnetic enclosure.
Ooh, it's chilly up here. Very chilly.
All right, here you go.
All right.
Where'd they go?
No, they're really taking a long time. I think fish does.
Maybe.
I'm gonna go check.
Okay, all right, it's a good idea.
That's a great decision.
Guys, where are you? What's going on?
Oh!
My God. Are you kidding me?
I'm just getting a drink. It's toasty down there. Before long, we were closing in on Manotick, home to, among other things, the Watson's Mill Museum. The left fork in the canal at the southern tip of Long Island leads into Mahogany Harbor, where the town has a new set of docks to moor at, within walking distance of the town shops. Our live-boat guru guide told us this historic museum is a short 10-minute walk from the dock.
All of the actual equipment we use to produce flour is using the power from the river.
If you have the time, this is really worth the stop. Tomorrow we arrive in Ottawa, but tonight we will tie up the Long Island locks for dinner aboard. All that's left is to pour a drink or two and fire up the barbecue. Stay tuned as we arrive in Ottawa and give Maddie her first kayak ride on the Rideau Canal.
In 2020, Cruisers Yachts introduced its Grand Luxury Sport line to bring a little more versatility to its lineup, with a functional day boat that can also act as a weekender, available in stern drive or outboard power. New for 2021, this next iteration adds a little more size so you can sleep 4 comfortably and entertain a whole lot more. This is the 2021 Cruisers Yachts 42 GLS.
At 42 feet in length with a 13-foot beam, Cruisers Yachts 42 GLS weighs in at 27,000 pounds under full load. The sporty lines and triple Merc setup scream performance, while the interior tells me this thing was built to enjoy life on the water. Exactly what the name Cruisers Yachts should imply.
The first thing I noticed hopping on board this 42 GLS is this nice, big, open, flowing layout, and I can't help but think of the potential for entertainment. It's got a great big aft lounger, this excellent large U-shaped dinette right across from the portside galley. But my favorite spot has to be these 2 bar stools level with the helm here. Now, these were an option on the 38 GLS. They're standard on the 42 because a spot like this should be standard.
The starboard dinette wraps around a large polished teak table and features storage in the seat cushions on smart floating hinges that allow for full range of motion.
The galley to port has worked so seamlessly into the cockpit of this boat, it really shows the potential of the galley up layout. You don't want to miss any of the fun when you're prepping hors d'oeuvres or dinner. So Cruisers has laid in this raised wet bar with standard grill, fridge drawer, fiberglass inlaid sink, plus plenty of storage, including garbage and a bottle holder, and tucked into the captain's seat, an optional ice maker.
Also optional is a second galley fridge, and up above we find USB and 12-volt power, plus cable for the TV that can be moved between here and the cabin below.
No surprise, the bow is set up perfectly for entertaining as well, with wraparound seating that could comfortably fit 5, 6, even 7 people. Cup holders hidden in the seat backs, stereo controls for the Rockford Fosgate speakers set right into the gunnels, plus a table that sinks down, covers with filler cushions, and turns this entire area into a sunbed. But if you want to break from the rays, there's an optional sunshade that covers the entire bow.
When not in use, that sunshade stows away in storage underneath the forward seat cushion. Outboard power options range from triple 350 Verados right up to triple 450s. Ours is equipped with 3 400 Verados, and stern drive options are on the way.
I love outboard power because it comes with a lot of advantages. Maintenance is a lot easier, especially in salt water. We get a great big engine hatch where we find the standard diesel generator and optional Seakeeper system. Plus, you get a little more fuel efficiency, and with the outboards, a little more fuel capacity with almost 400 gallons on this boat. But one obvious drawback is the loss of a little bit of platform space. Now, a lot of boat companies will counter that by putting a beach door on one side. Cruisers didn't do that. No, they've added 2 beach doors, one on each side, to give you an incredible amount of real estate back here, access to the water on both sides.
An optional rotating backrest on the aft lounger allows you to face either side of the platform, and a hydraulic sunshade deploys to shelter the platform and aft cockpit from the sun on a hot day. When the weather turns for the worst, the entire cockpit can be sealed in by a zip-up enclosure that still lets in enough light to feel airy and open inside, especially with the optional full-size cockpit side windows.
The size you get in the 42-foot package is quite evident, especially when you're down below in this air-conditioned cabin. 6 feet 7 inches of clearance, and this thing will sleep 4 quite comfortably. The table drops down, filler cushions come in, and all the way forward, that backrest flips up to give you plenty of room for a great night on the hook.
On the wall in the cabin are a bar fridge and microwave, and a spot for that TV we had up in the galley. Behind the backrests are storage for PFDs and the main electrical panel, with additional storage cabinets up above. The wet head is impressively roomy and stylish with custom features throughout.
The master stateroom features a full-size berth with personal reading lights, plenty of storage behind me, and this nice comfy sloped backrest that allows you to watch the flat screen TV with plenty of headroom to do so comfortably.
Central vac is standard to keep the cabin clean.
To seal yourself off from the elements down here, a hard sliding door pulls across and locks, but when the weather's nice and you'd like to allow some sun and air through, but no other unwanted visitors, this full-size screen door slides into place.
The captain sits on a double-wide bolstered bench with a flip-down armrest and a pair of polished wood footrests to add some comfort at any configuration.
As usual, Cruisers knocks it out of the park at the helm. I love the appointment of the dash with the twin 12-inch Simrad screens set right in flush. One of my favorite features is the fabric underneath the windscreen. And what that'll do is reduce the glare and reflection from the sun when you're piloting.
Waterproof LED switches sit to port of the wheel, next to one of 3 controls for the stereo system integrated all throughout the boat.
With a full windshield standard, and with the legs from the hardtop pushed as far back as they are, the sightlines are incredible, whether you're up on the bolster or seated down on the seat. With a giant windscreen and the optional full glass sides, it can get a little stuffy in a boat like this, so if you are going with that option, I definitely recommend you also add on the cockpit air. Put 2 nice air-conditioned vents right in the captain's face.
The hydraulic retractable sunroof also helps in that department.
Mercury's joystick piloting is a standard feature, and with 3 outboards that can move freely of each other, it really is a simple and intuitive system to get the hang of. It makes docking even this 42-footer a stress-free endeavor.
With its knife-shaped windows and aggressive lines, I was optimistic about what this boat could do once I got it out of the channel and into open water. And it did not disappoint.
Acceleration is impressive. We got up onto plane in just about 8 seconds, and this is a heavy boat loaded with fuel and 3 of us on board. We had a peppy 52 miles per hour, but I'm finding a real nice cruise right about here, just over 30 miles an hour. And it feels really nice and smooth. This is a surprisingly responsive ride for a 42-footer. I'm doing 30 miles an hour, and this thing is just snapping around like a sports car. With a 400-gallon tank, this has some legs to get you out for a nice long ride, and it'll be fun doing it. This little 1960s Boston whaler has been in my family for years, and hopefully will be for many more because it is bomb-proof, but it does need a little bit of love. We haven't been able to drive it at night since the bow lights went, so today I'm finally getting around to replacing these broken old nav lights with some nice new LEDs. And while I'm at it, I'll upgrade the anchor light to LED as well and replace the switches since the old ones are fried. Now, LEDs have a bunch of obvious advantages over the old incandescent bulbs. They're more durable, they last way longer, and of course they draw far less power from the battery. But replacing your old incandescent bulbs with some cheap LED retrofit from the hardware store isn't the way to get there. Nav lights are tested and certified as one unit, so the lens, the bulb, and the fixture all need to work together to meet the navigation requirements for color, brightness, and angle in order to be legal and, more importantly, safe.
Luckily, I found an LED bicolor bow light from Sea Choice that will be super easy to swap out. After diagnosing that my wiring still worked, I unhooked it at the battery and removed the old one, snipping as close to the light as possible to leave the most wire to work with.
These wires are often different sizes, so I've gone and got some step-down butt connectors to make it really easy to hook them both together. The second thing is some color-matched heat shrink to make it more waterproof. Works a lot better than electrical tape. really easy to install.
Before I secure it to the boat for good, I tested the new light to make sure my connections worked.
Let's take a look at that switch.
I started by unscrewing the old switch from the console and disconnecting the wires. Then I reconnected the wires to the new switch and reattached it to the console.
Nailed it. Last but not least is this LED all-around anchor light. The old one broke off and it's been lost to Davy Jones' locker somewhere. This is just a couple of screws and we can use the wiring from the old light.
Then I slid on a colored shrink wrap and crimped on a step-down butt connector to both wires, drilling holes for the 4 countersunk screws and using some marine-grade sealant to waterproof the holes. Then I finished connecting the wires, heat shrunk the wraps, and wrapped it all in some corrugated wire loom tubing. On a roll, I decided to tackle another electrical installation on my whaler and install a USB terminal that I can use to charge my phone or power accessories.
If it's just the USB you need, this dual USB receptacle is perfect for your application. But if you're planning on running any other graphs or other kinds of accessories, you may want one like this one with the USB and the 12 volt.
You can connect right to the battery, but you'll want to put in a 10 to 15 amp inline fuse. The Sea-Link receptacle is water resistant, but I still wanted to find a place that's not going to get too wet. I had a great spot on my console with no wires or hoses behind it, so luckily I didn't have to drill into fiberglass. I used some 14-gauge marine-grade bilge pump wire I found in my garage, measuring enough to run from the battery to the receptacle with a little extra to play. On the other end, I spliced in a smaller piece of wire to power both the USB and the 12-volt plugs using butt connectors that came with the receptacle. Then I fed the wire through the steering console, slid on the black threaded rings, fished it through the holes I drilled earlier, and connected it to the receptacle, tightening from the back and fastening the front with the screws included. Back at the battery, I connected the positive side to the 15 amp inline fuse and the negative side to the direct connect terminal. Right away, the LED indicator on the USB lit up, letting me know that the connection worked.
Simple as that. Another super easy install. All we need now is a cell phone mount and a Bluetooth stereo system.
Ottawa is only 20 kilometers from Long Island, and we have 8 locks, including 3 here at Long Island, to get through along the way. So we had time to utilize the large galley to make a little breakfast aboard before shoving off. The sun was out and the temperatures were starting to warm up again. The Vimy Memorial Bridge marks a transition on our journey where the scenery starts to change as we enter Nepean and the surrounding suburbs of Ottawa. At first, we notice more waterfront homes. But it isn't until just before Hogsback Falls that the juxtaposition between urban development and the tranquility of the Rideau comes into focus. The lack of late-season traffic was really helping us make good time, so we decided to stretch our legs and check out Hogsback Falls. What an awesome spot to stop! The geology of this region dates back over 450 million years. And after you got a good look at the falls, it's worth continuing along, because as you descend the stairs, it goes from frosty and noisy to serene and quiet. Back on board, we decided on one more stop at the Dallas Lake Pavilion to top up on fresh water and ice before heading downtown. And if you have time, there are a few patios on the pavilion to grab a bite. But we've hardly touched any of the food in the 3 coolers we brought aboard. So, the girls made sandwiches while the boys filled the water tank. The closer we get to downtown Ottawa, the more it feels like we're trespassing in some giant amusement park. More than once, I had to check Navionics and look around to make sure we were actually on the right path. But you know you're getting close when you reach the Pretoria Bridge, a vertical, table lift bridge built in 1915 that rises 19 feet straight up. Just around the corner from Pretoria, we found a spot to pull over and get the bicycles out for the very first time. If you don't have your own, the boat will rent you bicycles, stand-up paddleboards, and even kayaks for your adventure. As we round the final corner, we get our first glimpse of Chateau Laurier, the Senate of Canada, and Parliament Hill. Yes, indeed, you can moor the boat right downtown. And once tied up, it was time for a celebratory cheers on the flybridge. In the morning, we awoke to a glorious sunrise lighting up the swim platform, the perfect spot for a morning coffee. Well, this is our first morning in Ottawa, downtown on the Rideau Canal. And it's been a pretty big change. We came from Smiths Falls, where the towns are much quieter and the scenery is a little more sparse. But now we get all of the sounds of the city and the scenery. We have the Parliament buildings right behind us. And of course, you can just see how spectacular it looks down here in Rideau Canal. And tonight, we're looking forward to having dinner right across the canal at One Elgin Place.
Take the kayak for a little run down the canal.
Anyone want to go with them?
Oh, I'm in.
You're in?
Yeah.
All right, let's throw the kayak
Good,
in.
let's do it.
The availability of bicycles and kayaks from LeBoat really helps in customizing your adventure. Of course, there are hundreds of things to do once in Ottawa, and we just brushed the surface on our very short trip. But we did manage to get to the Byward Market for beaver tails, do a little shopping, pose for Instagram, visit a pub, and the Canadian Museum of History, taking in as many sights and sounds as we could possibly squeeze into a single day. Our final day ended with a quiet dinner on the terrace at One Elgin Place right across the canal from the boat. But the trip wasn't over quite yet. Although a bit dark for our travel cameras, we did get a few cool snapshots. Thank you, Chris, for picking up the bar tab. Thank you, Parks Canada staff, for your exceptional lock service. And a huge thanks to Lisa from LeBoat for taking care of us all along the way. Guaranteed, we will be back for more.